Hi, I'm Vince, also known as Pleasant Kenobi on the internet. So this is 2,000 points of what I've been playing in like competitively minded games of match play over Tabletop Simulator. I unfortunately haven't got to move the models around a physical board much because, well, as you all know, we're living in weird times and the UK is back in full lockdown. This is 2,000 points of Blood Angels. Now, a few things before I get into the nitty gritty. I'm going to go through and talk about each unit individually. Don't even know how long this video is going to be. Hopefully it's informative and useful for you. I thought this army, as it was finished. Can I do a thumb up punching model? Finished. It's slightly not. The bases aren't finished here, neither is the pistol here. These bases are in the old colour scheme where I started with a grey rim everything, and then I went to brown rims. And then I've settled on black rim. I think black rim looks better. Love a good black rim. So these need to be rebased. Just the paint on the edges. And unfortunately Dante is now this is a metal Dante as well, and I'm pretty happy with how he got painted. He's in the wrong scheme because he's complete like flock. Yeah, I don't know what to do about that. I've got another Dante from like an eBay lot that I might start using, but I like the metal one. But anyway, that's not important. You've clicked onto this video to hear about Blood Angels as a competitive army. This is 2,000 points of Blood Angels. Now, they are being considered one of the most competitive armies, if not the most competitive army. If you watch other Warhammer YouTubers like Tabletop Titans, which you 100% should, because they're some of the best long-form Warhammer content out there, very competitively minded, very approachable, very friendly, just generally great people and good content. If you've watched their content recently, you know they put out a very good scenery video, but they also put out a video saying that Blood Angels were the best army in the game. I'm not going to dispute that they're in the upper echelons of 40k competitive, bearing in mind that I haven't got to play any tournaments yet, not big tournaments anyway, so I'm still relatively new to this competitive Warhammer environment, but it's easy to see from the quite a lot of games I'm getting in on TTS over on the Auspex Tactics Discord on my own, and watching a lot of battle reports and following things like Dice Check, that there are three like definitively top tier armies, shall we say. At the moment, I believe Sisters of Battle are top tier, Harlequins are top tier, especially because they're a good marine matchup, and then we have Space Marines. Now, Space Marines come in a variety of ways. Top tournaments are being taken down by things like Ultramarines, Salamanders aren't as popular as before, Dark Angels are now fantastic with permanent transhuman on their inner circle units. And the Blood Angels Codex, well, as you can't see it, it's in the background here, the Blood Angels Codex was pretty kind. The problem I have with the notion that these are the best army in the game is that, well, Tabletop Titans are playing rules as intended as opposed to rules as written. Basically, it comes down to this little dude here and two stratagems in the Codex. I'll go through all that when I go through individual units, but at the moment, rules as written and without FAQs fixing it, this doesn't work how people think it does. The other thing to bear in mind is that I've quite enjoyed and had a bit of success playing the Sanguinary Priest and or Apothecary combo alongside attack bikes, ATVs and Outriders because they're higher toughness, high wound models with relatively good shooting and maneuverability, and you can res them with this guy. I'll come to more of that again when we get to him in the per unit discussion. This that you see in front of you is one battalion and one patrol. That means you've already spent 2 CP. The reason we've took another detachment is essentially to get another HQ slot. Now we can pay CP just to get a HQ slot, but we want another troop anyway, so we might as well just take the patrol. Some of you might be thinking, does that cost you more CP? It doesn't. To take a singular unit in an auxiliary support detachment or whatever it's called is 2 CP, and so is a patrol. So we're going to go for a 4th troop anyway, so it doesn't really. If you were going troop lighter, then you could decide to pay 2 CP for an extra HQ slot and use the points here, which is about like 120, 140, on something else. As an army overview, we have 4 HQs. We have Dante, a Sanguinary Priest, Chief Librarian Mephiston, a named character, both these are named here, and we have a Chaplain. Both these are jetpacks, both of these upgraded with their point-based upgrades that are available in the Space Marine Codex over here, this one being the Chief Apothecary and this one being the Master of Sanctity. The Chaplain is our Warlord, and then we spent 1 CP for an extra Warlord trait over here, and then we spent a Relic on him, and then another CP for a Relic over here as well, which I'll come to more in a moment. We then have our troops. We have Assault Intercessor squad 5, another squad of 5, another squad of 5. A little bit of a WYSIWYG issue here. I'm not actually playing a hammer, fist, or sword on this sergeant because the points are dead on 2,000 points. I've got a load of other Assault Intercessors that I haven't painted up yet that could replace him as a sergeant model with the correct items. Same with the plasma pistol here. There is no plasma pistol on this guy in the army list. Just haven't got them all painted. Then we come to our elite slots. We have 3 squads of Sanguinary Guard. We have a 5, a 6, and a 5. It's a 6 because we had extra points to spare. We have 5 swords, 6 swords, and 5 axes. Axes get an extra point of strength, but 1 less point of AP, so they're the same cost. On the whole, I think swords are correct. I just don't have enough sword models. The axes can be targeted at higher toughness models, dreadnoughts and vehicles and greater demons and things with a higher likelihood to wound. But as an army-wide rule, which I'll come to next, the Blood Angels get +1 to wound anyway. So at this point, these are strength 5, so they're wounding strength 5 models on 3s. These are strength 6, which means they're wounding strength 5 models on 2s. So axes do have an advantage, even +5 models, Death Guard, Gravis Armoured Primaris, and that sort of thing. Panning the camera up, it's not actually a pan, is it? It's a tilt if it goes up, it's a pan if it goes across. So that was incorrect. We have our final elite, which is this Redemptor Dreadnought. Now this isn't quite WYSIWYG right now, because it's got a plasma gun on its arm. I have got one modelled with the Onslaught Gatling cannon that I put on it, which I'll talk through more when I get to put to a unit by unit basis. Problem is this guy's base is not matching the army one. This is the first base I ever did for a big vehicle. It's cool with a pile of skulls and everything, but it's not quite as cool as my Death Company Dreadnought scheme that I've done here. Again, I'll talk more through that in a moment. Bearing in mind, it's not actually a Death Company Dread. There is no Death Company Redemptor. It's just purely a visual fluff or flavourful conversion that I did. Again, more on that in a moment. In our fast attack, we have Plasma Inceptors, possibly one of, if not the best unit in the game right now. Again, I'll go through the profile of their guns and what they do in a moment, but these guys are shit hot. They are up there with Sanguinary Guard for being the most point-efficient thing that we have access to, and they synergize well with our stratagems. Finally, over here we have a squad of Eradicators. Please ignore the golden halo that I put on the sergeant here. I keep dropping these bloody things. That was before I really knew any of the rules of the game or any of the items, and I was just trying to model the sergeant to look a little bit different. Eradicators are again one of the best units in the game, but there's some problems that I think people really downplay that I'm going to come to when we talk about the units individually in a moment. I started moving for them for the next shot and forgot that I haven't talked about army-wide rules. If you're really new to Blood Angels, let's explain what it does. The Blood Angels here, they have a +1 to advance and a +1 to charge. They are also Space Marines. What that means is they have +1 attack on the charge called Shock, so it's called Angry Charge. If you've charged, been charged, or you've got Heroic Intervene, you get +1 attack. They also have what are called Doctrines. So in the first turn of the game, heavy weapons, like the ones that this guy and these guys carry, have +1 AP. In the second turn, and third turn if you choose to, Tactical Doctrine is in place, where Assault and Rapid Fire gets +1. And then in the third turn, you can opt to move up to the Assault, which you will always do with these guys, at which point close combat weapons and pistols get +1 AP. But then we have what's called the Super Doctrine, Savage Echoes. Savage Echoes is that third turn onwards, whenever you're in the Assault Doctrine, you get +1 attack +1 to attack statistic. That's per model. So this squad of 5 gets 5 more attacks in close combat. This squad 5, this squad 6, and so on and so on. Savage Echoes is very good. And then finally, the other unique thing Blood Angels get, in addition to the charging and advancing +1, is +1 to wound in melee. So that means your strength 4 guys are going to wound other Marines on 3s instead of 4s, which is quite a big uptick, right? That's like 1/6 of the heads getting through. What's 1/6 of percentages? 15% is that? 15% more likely to wound something in close combat. Okay, let's break down what's going on with these units. This is Dante. Commander Dante. He's metal, he's heavy, and this uneven ground is making it very hard to put him down. Dante is the leader of the Blood Angels, hence the Chapter Master. For those of you that don't know, Chapter Masters are like the top commanders of the army. Now, interestingly, how the chapter command thing works, in Spaceman armies you can only have one captain. Because he's a chapter master, he doesn't count towards that total, so you can have him and another captain to play like as his second in command for this chapter or division. We don't. I did for a while, but I replaced it with the chaplain, and I'll talk about that more why in a moment. Dante is a beatstick and a utility character. He's a 12-inch moving, like hard-hitting, 7 attacks on the charge, 8 from turn 3 onwards, with a strength 8 attacks. It's pretty... I misspoke. Strength 7 attacks, sorry, it's plus 3. Strength 7, but he's wounding on plus 1, so it's effectively strength 8. Better than strength 8. A plus 1 on the wound that Blood Angels get is better than 1 point of strength. If you've got 1 point of strength, it doesn't always equate to improving your die roll. For example, if you've got a 4 toughness Marine punching a 3 toughness Sister of Battle, if we added 1 strength to that, up to 5, you wouldn't be wounding on 2s. It wouldn't improve the dice roll. The fact that you're already wounding on 3s and you get plus 1 to your wound roll means you're wounding on 2s. So the plus 1 effectively makes them better. So he's better than strength 8 on the slappy slaps. And his pistols are 6-inch little Melder pistol too. But the good thing about Dante is that he has a 6-inch aura of reroll 1s, like all captains do. And with a jump pack, it means you can position around to give reroll 1. Everything in this army is core, barring the characters. And of course, in the clan phase, he has Chapter Master, so he gets to target a unit within 6 and give them full rerolls as well. What this allows you to do is ensure that if your Eradicators on the board turn 1, you can delete something quite easily. If you're playing with your Plasma Scepters and you want to overcharge them, full rerolls will help you to avoid that problem. The issue is that you might be rerolling the 2s, which gives you a slightly higher likelihood of coming out with 1s, so it's a bit iffy. But in short, he can give full rerolls. The other thing I do like about Dante with the full rerolls is giving it to your Redemptor, because your Redemptor is very good at putting down a large volume of fire, and if it's rerolling all, it has a good chance of clearing out smaller screens, like squads of Sisters of Battle, for example, or at least taking down a couple of Marines out of tactical squads that have pushed forward if you haven't got the first turn. He also has a unique thing where he can have an epic stratagem, be cost 0 if it's affecting him once per battle. Now, there's 2 relevant ones there. One is Honor the Chapter, so when he has been killed in combat, you still get to fight. So for 0 CP, he sticks around and fights, much like a Hive Tyrant with a sword. So that means that even if they fight first by charging him and killing him, he will fight back and kill something as well. If he's your Warlord, you get an extra CP at the beginning of the game. The reason I haven't taken that will become clear as we move on to the Chaplain. There's a huge amount to go into about Dante. He's just a very good Chapter Master and a very good fighty character. Next up, I'm playing Chief Librarian Mephiston. He is, again, a beatstick character. Everything in Blood Angels is a beatstick character. Everything in Blood Angels, for the most part, wants to get in there and fist fight. Mephiston is no different, with a large number of attacks on the charge and so on and so on. The problem with Mephiston is that he doesn't have an invulnerable save. He has a 5-up feel no pain, so for every wound he takes on a 5-up he ignores it, but no invuln, which means most power weapons in close combat, and then melters, plasmas, and lasfire at long range will delete him. The thing is, though, he is a librarian, so he can buff himself and other units. The powers that I take with Mephiston are, well, he gets Smite anyway, and he gets 2 casts per turn. I also take Wings of Sanguinius. That gives target Blood Angel unit a 5-up invuln. That can give your Redemptor a 5-up invuln if you're scared of getting popped by enemy Eradicators or Retributors, for example. So that's Wings of Sanguinius. He can also put, that's Shield of Sanguinius. He can put that on himself if you're going to go swinging in and you think he's going to get hit back quite hard. If he goes to a 5-up invuln and a 5-up feel no pain, makes him quite resilient. Next up is Wings of Sanguinius. All of these manifesting on 6s, by the way. Everything in the Blood Angels Codex manifests on 6s. Wings of Sanguinius allows him to immediately gain fly and do a normal move of 12 inches. Bearing in mind you can't fly out of combat hit. Well, you can fall back with this, but it's not great because falling back means you can't charge. The great thing is he moves 7 anyway, so you move him 7, you wings him 12. You've now moved 19 inches, and then you get a charge in as well. And on the charging front, the third spell in the Blood Angels Codex that you want to take, the third spell is Quickening. What Quickening does, can I zoom out so my hands fit in a bit better? Third spell. What Quickening does is it gives you reroll on charges and plus D3 attacks. Now, the plus D3 attacks is pretty hot, but giving him rerollable charges as well, so he moves 19 inches, gets into like a 7-inch charge as a reroll on 7-inch, and plus 1 because it's a Blood Angel, means you can connect on turn 1 if you really want to. I don't recommend it. I think Mephiston is much better as a counter-attack unit who is smiting and giving out invulns for the first turn or 2. In my experience of playing a lot of Mephiston, I kept throwing him away early on, and it's just not worth it. He's also so good in close combat, where he's not hitting on 2s, he gets the extra attacks, his sword is like minus 3 AP and double strength, and he's strength 5, toughness 5, by the way, for reasons no one really knows. He's got strength 10, so he's wounding pretty much anything in the game on 2s. Very, very good. He can fight tanks and flyers. I've had him gain wings fly across the map, and then charge an airplane in the previous edition when he got to keep fly. Nowadays, bearing in mind, he doesn't get to keep flying to the charge phase, so he can't fly up and punch aircraft out of the sky. It is a shame. That was one of my favourite moments I've ever had with this bad boy. He's great, he's just fragile compared to most characters. Then we come to our Warlord, a Chaplain with Master of Sanctity and the Wise Orator, Warlord trait. Chaplain. It means that you get to sing songs, you get to orate great tales that benefit and buff the rest of your army. He gets to have 3 because he is the Master of Sanctity. The default one allows you to reroll all hits in melee with a 6-inch aura around him, which is, yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, you're normally going to have rerolls anyway from Dante, but it means that you can put rerolls elsewhere on the board. For example, if you're deep striking him in with Sanguinary Guard. And this is where I come to the main reason that he is the Warlord. The Sanguinary Guard, they get +1 to hit when they're within 6 inches of your Warlord. So if you deep strike him with a blob or 2 of Sanguinary Guard, and you make the charge with at least 2 of those 3 things, it means that they're hitting on 2s. If they're hitting on 2s and re-rolling because you recited, for example, that is insane. And bearing in mind they're hitting on 2s as in melee and ranged. So if you land blobs of Sanguinary Guard complete with Angelus bolt guns that fire 2 shots per body, you're firing on a squad of 5, 10 shots on 2s into screens to clear them, for example. The hitting on 2s is pretty strong near a Warlord. Turns them into little mini custodes, look, a little golden boy, eh? In addition to that, another litany that I take with the Chaplain is +2 to charges and +3 to consolidations. What that means, so this doesn't buff or accumulate with your +1 from Blood Angels, but it means that when you come out of Deep Strike, you've got a 7-inch charge thanks to him and his song. Now, coming out of Deep Strike means you can't sing songs at the beginning of turn. It all happens in the command phase. However, for 2 CP or 1, because he's a Wise Orator and that's his Warlord trait, for 1 CP, you can immediately manifest a sing-a-song litany immediately. So you land with him and your Sanguinary Guard blob, you pop 1 CP, +2 to charge. They already ignore most terrain features because of the jetpacks anyway. His final one is Exploding Sixes to target unit within 6. Again, if you keep him on the board at the beginning of the game, which sometimes you will do against armies that have huge amounts of screening, potential 2 songs, but mostly I like dropping him in with 2 squads of Sanguinary Guard into the backline if I can. But like I said, if you're playing against Sisters of Battle, Imperial Guard, Tyranids, Orcs, anything that has a swarm or horde mentality, Necrons, especially in the current guys as well, the Scarabs, I think that you start most things on the board. You put like 1 Sanguinary Guard squad in deep, because you're going to get screened so hard that you're never going to get a good deep strike in their back lines. He has an Inferno Pistol and a Crozarius-y, goldeny, hitty stick thing. That's his other setup. Yeah, he's a pretty good in close combat too. The last point about him is his Relic. I've given him the Visage, the Death Visage of Sanguinius. He gets -1 to hit him in close combat, so he's a little bit more resilient in close combat. But also, he turns off OBSEC on any enemy unit within 3. So if you and some Sanguinary Guard land into a big blob of Termagants, Homagants, Necron Warriors, something that you actually might struggle to clear in 1 round of combat, and you can't fight again with these things. If that happens, his Warlord trait, his Relic, allows him to turn off their OBSEC. So if you get in and you kill, I don't know, 9 of a 18 or 17 blob of Necron Warriors, and you've now got a Sanguinary Guard and the Captain on the point, you can contest or take it over from them thanks to the Relic. It basically also allows him to just fly in, connect with a squad of 5, kill 4 of them if it's like 5 Sisters of Battle or 5 Marines, and then he is taken or conflicting the point because it takes the OBSEC off. It's a really fucking good Relic. The last HQ is the Chief Apothecary, been put onto a Sanguinary Priest who has got a jetpack. This guy allows you to put 1 of your squads into the Assault Doctrine in the command phase thanks to his Blood Gauntlet. Now, what that does is, at the moment, at time of writing, it allows them to be in the Assault Doctrine when you attack. Now, if you're in the Assault Doctrine when you begin the fight phase, you get +1 to your attacks. Like I said earlier, Savage Echoes. The problem is, as written, you only are in the Assault Doctrine for the point where you are attacking. So it's not when the fight starts and you check your attack number on your character sheet and then roll all the dice. It's when the attacks are being applied, when you're rolling them. So at the moment, rules as written, the Chalice does not give you +1 attack. However, Tabletop Titans are playing it as if it does give the +1 attack, as does the stratagem, the Detective stratagem, to put you into a different doctrine for 1 squad in your army, or all doctrines for 1 squad in your army. Again, rules as written doesn't do that, but rules as intended it probably does. If it gets FAQ'd in the future, it'll be brilliant. But at the moment, at time of writing and recording and talking and gushing about my Blood Angels, it doesn't. This is a big difference, right? Because turn 1, if you've got Sanguinary Guard +6 next to him, give him 6 extra attacks. Sanguinary Guard will just murder most things they come into contact with, because their fighting skill is so good. So the extra attack is really, really relevant, but at the moment he doesn't give that. What he does do, through his Warlord trait, Selfless Healer, and the fact that he's a Chief Apothecary, what he does do is he allows you to heal up to 2 squads, for 1 model in each squad for 3 flat wounds each turn, and he also can resurrect 1 biker or 1 infantryman. Now, the fact that you can res a biker means you can res an ATV. That is something I've been doing a lot of lately. ATVs are 8 wounds, toughness 5, silly 14-inch moving. They've got machine guns on the front and melters or onslaught Gatling cans on the top. They are they're very good, but they're also expensive. The reason I've stopped playing ATVs alongside the Chief Apothecary, or in this case, a Sanguinary Priest, well, the general consensus is that it's difficult to keep up with these because they move 14 inches and these guys don't, but in the Blood Angels armies they do. They have a jump pack, they can move 12, right? You can even advance them and still use the ability. And if you lose one of your ATVs, you fly in and res one of them at end of movement phase for 0 CP. Use the stratagem, normally costs 1. The problem is, these things are good. They've got quite a bit of firepower, they're very fast, they're relatively fighty because of all the attacks they put out, and the Blood Angels probably 85 points per model to have a melter on it. They end up being very, very expensive. At the 270 points or whatever it is that I pay for these, I can get myself a Redemptor at 175 and most of the way towards the squad of Eradicators. The problem is that they don't fill out those slots or those roles in the army like the other positions do. So whilst I like their footprint, their ability to get onto objectives, their ability to shoot and fight, and their resurrection ability, it's the fact that they're so expensive that I don't like them. And I'm not saying they need to go down in points. Like, the fact that this guy can res this guy is kind of insane. People joke that he shouldn't be able to because bikes need engineers to be fixed. I like the idea that the rider has been shot and he reses them or whatever. But, yeah, I like the fact that you can still do this because it's a really cool and powerful thing you can do, and it's scary. The other thing about ATVs, if you end up playing ATVs or attack bikes alongside a apothecary, is that people will misplay around these things, be very scared of them and try and kill them at every opportunity and then fail because of the resilience and the healing. But I'd rather have access to some good anti-tank and some good wave clearance and just a good solid body like a Redemptor instead of just 3 of these bad boys. But sometimes I do play them. The other problem is that 2 of them are in boxes. I haven't even built them yet. So he heals and he resurrects. But most importantly, I guess the resurrection is protection. The other thing that he does is give a 3-inch aura of 6 up, feel no pain. So if you hug him into other units like Plasma Inceptors and Sanguinary Guard or bikes like ATVs and attack bikes and stuff, he gives them a 6 up, feel no pain. Now 6 up, feel no pain isn't that great, and I often just find it not really doing a huge amount, but it will, over the course of a game, it will normally save a model or 2 when a 2 wound marine gets hit by a 2 damage shot and you roll a 6 on one of them. It's not great with 1 wound models, but we're marines now, we have 2 wounds on everything. So that's the HQs, let's talk troops. These are Assault Intercessors. Now, I'm playing 3 squads of these. I was playing 4 at one point over your normal Intercessors. Now, normal Intercessors are good at sitting on a backfield objective and, just slinging shots downrange, throwing dice downrange whilst they hold a backfield objective. I actually like these on backfield objectives too. Something that people don't realise is that these guys are super fighty. The Sergeant has 3 attacks, each body has 2, +1 for chainswords, +1 for shock, and 3rd turn onwards they get +1 for savage echoes as well. So they get 21 or 26 attacks on a 5-man blob. And basically what that means is they can't get tied up, they can't be charged by, I don't know, a flanking or fast-moving Termagant or Homogant brood. Hell, if a Genestealer brood gets near them and fails the charge, you charge them back and kill them. They also have a good 2 turns of being able to clear Necron warriors, because again, the other thing that helps this is that for 2 CP they can fight again. So if you fight and struggle to kill the things, they fight back and kill one of your models, say Necron warriors, for example, in close combat. You get to pay 2 CP to fight again, sticking another 21, 26 attacks or whatever, and you will just cut down hordes. They aren't horde clearance as such because it's not reliable, but the sheer weight of attacks is good enough to hamper most OBSEC units that might try and take an objective from you. On top of that, they're probably at their best in this army over any other Marine army, because the +1 to wound means that these chainsaw-wielding -1 AP attacks that would struggle against vehicles usually, actually via weight of attacks, will dink and sometimes finish off vehicles. Like, they've got OBSEC, they can fight twice, they've got a shit ton of attacks, And from the 3rd turn onwards, they've got extra AP on their pistols and their swords. And you can also put them in that early on. Sanguinary Priests putting one of these in the Battalion early on, get them on the board on turn 2, slinging off heavy bottle shots at 18 inches with -2 AP, and then charge them for -2 AP on the attack. The helmet that they've got here on my ones is actually the Reaver helmet. As a heads up, I just thought it looked cooler. Then we've got the stealthy ones. We've got the Infiltrators. Now, these are painted black because I wanted to have camera armor, and I also love this grenade dude. These guys are, they've got lower AP on their guns. They're not quite as good as intercessors in terms of them. But what they do is they can scout move, not scout move, they can infiltrate. So before the game, you can set them up in no man's land. So you can set them up ahead onto objectives. But more importantly, if you set them up further afield, you can stop other people's versions of that infiltrate stuff, like Nurglings have, for example. And you can really screen out pre-game moves from Cerberus Riders, the ones that do that from Sisters, the Invicta Warsuits and stuff as well. You can really screen out other people's similar abilities. That's kind of a bit of an arms race in Marines now, to have Infiltrators and Inceptors, not Inceptors, the other ones, Infiltrators and whatever the other Infiltrator version is. But yeah, you can do that. The other cool thing about these is they have a 12-inch deep strike denial. And that's a cool thing. This is the best thing about them. A 12-inch deep strike denial. So, as you know, with most deep strikes, when you drop things in out of teleporters or from the skies, you have to drop them 9 inches away from another model. These guys say that you can drop them 12. So they can easily screen backfield objectives to turn off deep strike if you're scared of it. They can also just push up and push that bubble out so you're not getting charged in the front field as well. There's lots of ways to use these to screen things out. And they can also help to deny opponents secondaries. So with these and some Sanguinary Guard in the midfield, you can really dominate the middle of the battlefield, which does 2 things. One, it stops them from deploying their scramblers by getting infantry up into the midfield via a deep strike. You can also do it on the backfield as well, of course. And 2, in the midfield, allows you to control the middle of the battlefield. And what that allows you to do is get your Oath of Moments, the secondary objective that's in the Space Marine Codex that you definitely should be taking. 2 VP for holding the mid-ground, 1 VP for never falling back, and 1 VP for killing a hero, a character, or a vehicle each turn. The other reason that reminds me as well that I don't play the ATV that I just put back on the shelf over there, ATVs get tagged a lot. ATVs are so big in footprint that it's easy for enemy units to get in and touch them, and they can't shoot in close combat like vehicles can, so that means that they can't fire their melters, what people are scared of. If ATVs get tagged, you can fall back and spend a CP to shoot from distance, but at that point you're then giving up a VP in Oath of Moments, which is pretty big. So I got sick of them getting tagged and having to fall back and losing VP because... Now we come to the majority of the army. A metric ton of Sanguinary Guard. Now, one of the things that I might be doing wrong is that I probably should be playing more Sanguinary Guard. Like 3 squads of 10 is something I do want to play around with on TTS and eventually have access to by picking up second-hand Sanguinary Guard models. I think that the sword on the whole is better because the extra AP means things don't get saves. I'll swap him for a sword, for an axe, guys, so you know. But the axes are also reasonable for the reasons I talked about at the beginning. The fact that it makes it good against our toughness 5 models and such. Sanguinary Guard are incredibly cheap. They're 30 points a model, they're 2 wounds, they have a 2-up save native, so they have better armor than a normal Marine, which means that if you're shooting at them in cover, even AP1 is ignored. So they don't die to small arms fire. They are weak to like high quality shots, that's metal shots, inferno pistol shots, las cannons, plasma, that sort of stuff, because they don't have an invuln. But if you put Shield of Sanguinius on a blob before flinging it at them from Chief Librarian Mephiston, you have a very durable unit. But more importantly, they have 3 attacks each, 4 on the charge, 5 each from turn 3 onwards. So when you've got 4 attacks per body, hitting on 2s near your Warlord, 3s without, strength 5 plus 1 to wound because of Blood Angels, means that they are very fighty and very good at killing things. And the swords have -3 AP as well, so a lot of units in the game will not get a save against them. They tend to delete the things they touch, and they're not that fragile either. They can be fragile, but not to sheer weight of bolter fire, for example. People have to commit things into them like Retributors and similar. The other great thing about them is the native deep strike, right? You can put them in your back pocket. People have to respect them. They have to screen against them. Against Horde armies, I don't think that's good because people will effectively screen you and then you won't get to do what you want. You're allowing your opponent to dictate your movement, which is bad. But against some armies, it forces them to have to play cautiously against them. And most people don't want to do that. Most people want to push out their deployment zone and get onto objectives. These things force people back. The other great thing about them is that they have a lot of synergy with your stratagems. Firstly, for 1 CP, Descent of Angels gives them +1 to attack hit rolls for that turn they came in. So if you drop them on Deep Strike, you pay 1 CP, you get to hit on 2s when shooting with the Angelus bolt guns, which your squad, this guy's model with a fucking Inferno pistol, which he shouldn't be, but they should all, they should all be on the bolt guns, really. So you can put out, a squad of 5 can put out 2 shots each, that's 10 shots, hitting on 2s, and you can just like melt screens away and plink off wounds to make sure that you can kill larger units. Descent of Angels also allows you to ignore the penalty, it allows you to ignore negatives like Fleet Foot Grenade and Repulsor Shields and stuff like that, things that would make it harder for you to charge. On top of that, they also can have Upon Wings of Fire. Upon Wings of Fire allows you to put a jetpack unit that's in the game, on the board at the moment, in the movement phase, back into reserve, so you can redeploy on the Deep Strike later. So you can start the game with nothing in Deep Strike, they don't screen you, you pay 1 CP, put these back in Deep Strike, and suddenly they've got to like panic out to get these, stop the Sanguinary Guard from landing in the backfield. It used to be a lot better on the old Codex, we can just immediately drop them. Now you got to wait a turn, but it also, the new one's pretty good because it allows you to take them out of combat. So if these get tagged by a Greater Demon, or 2 squads get tagged by a Greater Demon, it kills 1 squad. You can pay 1 CP to fly these away. And then lastly, they have a unique stratagem. Something that the Battalions used to have across the army. Why? For 3 CP, they now get for just 1. It is a heroic intervention of 5 inches. So if in the enemy charge phase, anything of the enemy army is kept within 5 inches of these guys, they get to 5 inches heroically intervene. This means, for example, if they're fighting someone on a point and they want to fall back but still be on the point, if they fall back within 3, these are going to re-engage them with the heroic intervention. These guys are, they're so fast, they've got all the stratagem support, they sling out attacks like nobody's business, they're cheap and efficient for their cost as well, with their armour and their wounds. They're probably better than Vanguard vets on the whole, though Vanguard vets are pretty good. And they're definitely better than Death Company. That's something that people are going to be asking in the comment section, where's the Death Company? And I think, although Death Company get like a pre-game move and stuff like that, and they're cheaper than these, I think the extra attack at all times, the extra, well, not at all times, I guess the Death Company have the same number of attacks on the charge, I guess. But I mean, these guys can do actions too. Like if you got Raise the Banners and you still want to put a banner on an objective before you fly away, you can spend a turn doing that with these. Death Company can't do that. These can fall back. Death Company can't. And Death Company don't shoot as well anymore as well, because you can have a Chainsword and a bolt gun. So they're just better. They're just borderline, same slot, elite slot too. And they're both 10-man blobs now, right? It used to be, I believe, that the Death Company could come in 20-man blobs. Not anymore. I guess Death Company is slightly more resilient with the 6-up Feel No Pain, or Feel No Pain, the 6-up, isn't it? But no, these guys are just points for point better with all the AP they've got as well. Our final elite is my beloved Redemptor. It's one of my favourite models from the Primaris range. This version is a modified one. I'm sorry if you can hear the lens I'm using for the long shot and the stuff has got a bad auto mode. I turn the auto mode off. There we go. This is a Redemptor Dreadnought. I have modified it. It's got tarpaulin over here, made out of green stuff. It's got a 6 base where it's crushing a Thousand Suns bike underfoot, an old school bike. It's got barbed wire and another Thousand Suns old school backpack there. Don't know why I picked Thousand Suns as the metallic blue there. It's got the Death Company internal sarcophagi that I have like shaved down and put in there, and then obviously you can close it up as well. And this is from Age of Sigmar, but it's a banner that I was inspired by some concept art I had seen early on from this that was like I don't think it was leaked, I think it was released. That's in there, where there's a lot of Redemptors carrying banners in like a military parade. And I was thinking, you know, like on the Indomitus Crusade, that is something that they probably could do. So it's got a lot of candles and skulls and more skulls up here, honouring the dead, honouring the people who fell at the Battle of Baal. And they've got some more tarp and tarp there. I know you haven't come into this look at conversions, but I actually am very happy with how this model came out. This is a Redemptor Dreadnought. This has a huge fist that does D3 plus 3 damage. It's got 12 shots here, 8 shots underslung, if this is the Onslaught Gatling Cannon. Obviously, the actual model, I've got an Onslaught somewhere. I just packed it away and I can't find it for this video. But yeah, never glue your arms on. Always magnetize or have it fixed so you can change them. 2 Stormbolters, that's 4 shots per bolter. Thanks to Bolter Discipline. I don't have this. I don't pay for the Cyclone Missile Launcher because I don't have the points. Yeah, 12, 8, another 8. It's just a lot of shots to sling downfield at 30 inches and 24 inches. And just delete screens, clear infantry off of objectives. Now, in the current metagame, we've got Retributors, Eradicators, haywire guns off of the fucking Harlequins, and Inceptors running around. He isn't very durable. He has no invuln, he has no feel no pain. Unlike Contemptor Dreadnought, which is the other thing I like to run sometimes, but I've kind of moved away from for the moment. And the Leviathan as well. That's an in-run. But points-wise, the Leviathan's still quite a lot dearer than the Redemptor. And the Contemptor, whilst cheaper, slings less shots. Like the Cares Cannon fires like 6 shots. And I think you might get a Grav Blaster in your fist or a Stormbolt in the fist. It fires 8 shots, which is nothing compared to the 8 plus 8 plus 12 of this. It's a lot of shots coming out of this guy. And then in melee, he's not a slouch. He's got 4 or 5 attacks, D3 plus 3 damage, 6 attacks on the charge in turn 3. Yeah, he will punch and destroy like any monster he comes into contact with that hasn't got a Feeling Pains and Invuns. Like he'll struggle against Great Unclean ones and some demons, but I've had him just one shot an Exocrine after he's walked up the board and took shots from it. Because, toughness 7 as well, and a ton of wounds. What you've got to remember coming into the new Codex with the Space Marines is that this is the time of the Dreadnought in many ways. I'm surprised that Iron Hands aren't doing a bit better. These things now natively have Duty Eternal. It used to be a CP to do it. All incoming damage is reduced by 1. So if you're shooting them with 2 damage off Inceptors, it's just 1 damage now, so it's not even worth overcharging against it. Getting hit by Melters and Lasguns, it can save them. And then on top of that, on top of the Duty Eternal things, they can fire in close combat. This is a blast gun, this is why I don't take it. In close combat you can't fire blast guns, but if this is an Onslaught Gatling Cannon, Underslung Onslaught and 2 Stormbolters, like, you're very fighty anyway, and if you get tagged and wrapped up by, I don't know, Demonettes, or any sort of horde-based army, you're still getting to sling like 20 shots into them. Even at -1, you're still gonna just pepper things and kill stuff with this like massive heavy cannons. I love it. I think it's points efficient for its shooting. It's still pretty good in melee. It's a good backfield, midfield objective holder. I say objective holder, objective support holder. No obsec is obviously damning, but like that and a squad of assault intercessors will kill most things. It's generally very good. Just be wary of getting shot off the board by Eradicators. On the topic of Eradicators are Eradicators. These are from the Indomitus box. These are the unit that I kind of joked, them and the Blade Guard vets were designed to sell the Indomitus box to competitive Space Marine players. I'm not playing Blade Guard vets, by the way, because Sanguinary Guard are just better for the most part because of their speed. Eradicators, they double shoot if they don't advance and target the same thing. So each guy is shooting 2 shots, that's 6 shots. If you stick a multi-melter, a 4th one on, you get a ton of shots for bang for your buck. I'm not points-wise. I like having these in the army to give me a longer range, because I've only got 18 inches on the Inceptors, a longer range threat in Gravis armor, especially because it's durable at toughness 5 and 3 wounds of body, well, I say longer range. It's a mid-range anti-tank. And the boards are good and smaller. So unless you've got like Imperial Guard vehicles and some of the Eldar vehicles sat at the back of the map, you're going to get access by shooting. Now, the other way to get access to the shooting is to just stick him in reserve for 1 CP. My big bugbear problem with this unit in general, and why I probably wouldn't put it in the top 5 units in the game, alongside Sanguinary Guard and Inceptors, for example, and probably Skyweavers, is that they aren't very fast. They move 5 inches. They can advance and shoot because it's an assault gun at -1. But the -1's not the shitter, as it were. The real problem is if you advance, you can't double tap. You can't obliterate or eradicate or whatever the term is. Where if you all target the same unit, you double shoot. If you advanced, you can't do that. So these guys, in my experience, and it might be just because of my poorness of deploying them and playing with them not enough, is that they will get stuck behind a wall and have to walk around a wall of crates or something, or they'll get stuck through. If they get hit in difficult terrain, awful. If they get move reduced by any of the Thousand Suns psychic spam lists, they're never going anywhere. They're going to get zapped, they're going to lose a body to some mortal wounds, never move again, half their movement, get stuck in some difficult terrain. That's my problem. So if you flank, stick them in the side, great. But again, I think what people aren't talking about is that outflanking and deep striking isn't as easy as people think it is. Now, maybe I've got this opinion because I'm playing a deep strike heavy, a deep strike thematic army with Blood Angels. But like deep striking these guys in the backfields when you're playing its horde objective holding, like screening stuff, it's actually quite difficult. And it might be that you can't get it. And if you're playing with enough terrain as well, I feel like Eradicators coming out of the side of the board from not deep strike, but from outflanking deep strike, means that they sometimes won't even get a good shot on the target that you need. They are point and click delete for the most part. I mean, the metal guns do tons of damage. And if you get to come into half range, they do +2 damage per hit as well. 6 shots. They can reroll all if you chapter master them. Obviously, you can't do that if you're outflanking, but you can do that if they start on the board. They are very, very good. And they're in Gravis armor, so they can get +1 to their saves into 1 damage weaponry. They can transhuman them. That's another thing. My entire army is a bit weak from not being able to transhuman because of the Sanguinary Guard being firstborn, both a blessing and a curse. So they've got durability. Toughness 5, 3 wounds, transhuman. I can't remember what the other one is. Unyielding in the face of the foe, the +1 to saves and it's 1 damage. But I think they're slow. But what isn't slow? I'm going to contradict myself with the statement in just a second. What isn't slow is my beloved Plasma Scepters. I love this base that I've done here with a wall. If you're asking in the comment section where I got that wall piece from, it's just something I bought on Amazon. I'm going to put them all up here, but here's the Plasma Scepters. Where's my sergeant? Let's put the sergeant up here. There we go. Golden helmet lad. If you're wondering about all the gold, vets get gold armor in Blood Angels armies. If you're wondering why some of my Sanguinary Guard have wings and some don't, because some of them I bought second hand didn't have wings. And in my head logic, the ones without wings are the new Sanguinary Guard, the new vets that have been upgraded. The ones with the wings are the ones that survived the Battle of Baal. There's some headcanon background stuff there. I can do a video on Blood Angel lore. So, Inceptors. I think they might be the best, or one of the best units in the game. They have toughness 5, they only move 10, not 12 with the jump packs, but they fly. They can deep strike, which gives you access to the same stratagems I mentioned earlier, other than the heroic intervention one that the Sanguinary Guard gets. So you can, for example, drop them, pop a strat, give +1 to shoot, hitting on 2s. It's pretty wild. You can also, I've had them tagged in combat, and then I've, on turn 1, for turn 1 charge from a dodecahedron, the big wall climby forge ward tyrannid thing, or some demons, and then you can 1 CP throw them back in the sky to send them later. It's sick. If you give them rerolls, they can overcharge. The pistols have 2 profiles. One is 1 damage, strength 3 AP because the plasma. The other one is strength 8, 2 damage, 3 AP, killing them each model on a roll of a 1. They have 2 guns each, firing D3 shots. If you're firing into a squad of 11 or more, then you get blast, so they get a flat 3. These guys are some of the only units in the game that stand a chance of one-shotting a Necron blob, a Necron warrior blob. Because if they are giving you blast, you're firing a squad of 5, 6 shots, 30 shots. 30 shots. Re-rolling all, you should hopefully convert, what's that, 70%, 80% of those, if not more, and then you're wounding on 2s, wounding on 3s, actually. So, yeah, you stand a chance of one-shotting an Necron blob, which is important, because if you don't one-shot them, they get to do resurrection protocols. Most things in the game can't do that. So yeah, they are anti-horde because they're blast guns. They're anti-tank because when you overcharge them, they're 2 damage to hit strength 8. They do both the roles, and it's why I think they're better than Eradicators, because they've got the decent move speed, they've got the decent guns, they've got both profiles, and the great thing is they move 10 inches, they shoot 18. The guns are assault, so you can actually advance and shoot, and you're not losing anything bar than -1 to hit, shoot, but also because they're in Gravis, they have all the stuff I mentioned for the Eradicators. They have Transhuman, because they're Primaris. They have +1 to their saves against 1 damage shots, thanks to the Gravis armor, and their toughness 5, and their 3 wounds, and they move 10 inches. I don't actually understand why they're so cheap. I just don't understand how Hellblasters got wrecked on cost. And they have 42 points a model, but they're worth it, because their damage output is so high. And because they're Marines, even if you get into a fight, because the Blood Angels +1 to wound, means they just actually punch their way out of a fight as well. And then they can't fall back and shoot. Not like some armies can, but they can be put back into the sky, for example, to get them out of combat and stuff. In terms of strategy, like I said, you want to have a backfield like drop in against any army that can't screen you correctly. However, I think if the army is a horde army, you want to start everything on the board, and you want to move up in like a Death Star. We get to keep Dante and the Sanguinary Priest and the Lotus Sanguinary Guard together to create a ball that no one wants to go near, because it will just spin and whir and kill things. Secondary objectives, you're not hemorrhaging anything because you only have 1 vehicle. You do have 4 characters, so assassin can be bad, but you can easily keep Mephiston back for a game to try and not give those points ahead. And Dante and everyone is quite resilient too. So that is my Blood Angel army. I would love to hear any questions you've got in the comment section below. I hope you've enjoyed the video. It's a little bit longer than I wanted it to be, but I wanted to go into detail about why everything is so good. This blob, this army is so fast moving, where most things in the army move 12 or 10. We've only got our troops that don't, but our troops don't need to move that fast. Because our troops are moving up and putting banners on objectives and holding them. Raise the banners is a thing that I take almost all the time now, because you can get easily a 3 or 6 points out of it early and pick up the final points later once you've ripped and tore through their army with the Sanguinary Guard. Sanguinary Guard is kind of like playing on easy mode. I've been Vince, also Present Colour on the internet. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Click the subscribe button, click the like button. Let me know if you've enjoyed it enough that you want to see us again for Necrons or Custodes or Tyranids when I've got them built, or Death Guard Demon Nurgle thing when I've got that built, or whatever I end up getting built next in terms of a competitive list of an army. And I'll see you all soon. Ta-ta for now.